So before we begin the video, guys, I would like to straight up tell you one thing, that you don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe anyone anything. Okay, whatever you choose to do in your life today, no one has the right to question you. No one has the right to get an answer out of you, because you know what is best for you. And this is something which my English teacher in my school used to say, like, you come from them but not for them. Not in an arrogant way, I would like to put, but keeping an expectation from you when you should be, focusing on growing yourself as an individual is perhaps bad. And no one should expect anything from you at this, if you're from your 20s, 30s, because you have to build your own life. You have to build a happy life. You have to build your own stable life. And the recipe to that is no longer, and the older generations no longer have the access to that recipe, because what worked in their time will never work in our time. Certainly certain things will, but a majority of things you will have to figure it out yourself. So always be open to disagree. Always be open to say no to things when you have to, and say yes to the right opportunities. Say create boundaries for your own sake, and it's in a wider public interest, this video, not just tech. So watch till the end, and I hope you like it. Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel, and today this video is going to be very serious. The discussion which I'm trying to put forward right now is perhaps already been discussed in various forms, and perhaps other creators might have already spoken about this, but I want to put my own insight on this issue, and perhaps it needs a lot of dialogue right now, because it indirectly affects us. It indirectly affects the Gen Z. In many Indian households, there is a comparison happening today. Like, the elders would often say, in our time we never questioned, the authority, the teachers, bosses, elders. We just did our work sincerely and we were rewarded. They're right from their perspective. Their generation worked in a system where stability. Their generation worked in a system where stability came from obedience, patience, and consistency. They're right in their perception. They stayed in one job for 20, 30 years, sometimes, God knows how many years, did the same kind of work repeatedly and proved their dedication by how much pressure they could tolerate. But what many people misunderstand about Gen Z, is that we are not running away from hard work. We are questioning inefficient work. If the same task that earlier took 5 hours can now be done in 1 hour using technology, better methods, or perhaps smarter thinking, why should we still spend 5 hours just to prove that we are hardworking? For us, productivity means finishing the job properly and on time, not stretching it to look busy. And once the work is done, we don't see a reason to sit and pretend. Why? We would rather, use that time for learning something else, building another skill, spending time with friends, or simply, protecting our mental peace. That doesn't mean we are careless. In fact, when a situation becomes very serious, deadlines, competitions, real responsibilities, we can become extremely focused and committed. And we know when to switch from casual to serious because we grew up in a fast changing environment where adapting quickly was necessary. Another big difference that, previous generations often believe saying yes to everything, saying yes to everything showed a good character. We believe knowing when to say no is equally important. People pleasing, those were people pleasers. They're not powerful. They don't have an inner strength. That's what we believe. People pleasing is no longer seen as a strength if it comes at the cost of self-respect or mental health. Our parents' generation worked often very, very long until exhaustion because that was the only way to move forward. Gen Z is trying to work smart so that life does not, only become about work, work. We don't want to show off stress like a status symbol. Oh, I'm busy. You can call me later. If we only respect when you're busy is when you're actually driving a real impact and not just pretending to be busy if that work can be done in a simpler manner using efficient tools or technology. We believe a person can be sincere about their career and still have a personality outside their job because we have a life outside of our job. Job is not everything, or perhaps work is not everything. And maybe this is the biggest shift. Earlier generations lived to secure their future, even if it meant sacrificing their present. That is understandable. But us, we are trying to build a future without completely sacrificing the present. This does not mean we disrespect experience or tradition. It just means we are trying to update the definition of, hard work or perhaps smart work or dedication. For us, dedication, means doing meaningful work. Doing work well, not just silently tolerating, outdated, old orthodox systems. And people looking down upon people who are ambitious is very bad. For me saying this can be looked down upon by other people, and that is very bad because that shows how arrogant some people can be. I'm not saying every elder, every older generation person seeing this video would think that way. A lot of them are open-minded, but a majority of them would think that way, and that's the problem. See, we should not be underestimated because we may look informal, relaxed, or spontaneous on the surface, but when it comes to things that truly matter, we take them very seriously. We don't believe that seriousness has to mean is equivalent to doing hard work. No. Sometimes it simply means knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And we as a generation have figured it out very early. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for that to the internet. To countless creators, influencers who have made Gen Zs more aware about what is perhaps practical, rational, instead of just, traditional. Up to you should, and perhaps this only comes more and more powerfully as we grow into into the workforce. People are leaving jobs. Gen Z is leaving jobs, and I'm proud of them because they chose their mental peace. They chose to do something of their own, even if it pays less. But at least they're doing meaningful work which they like, which they feel respected in, right? And I feel perhaps this is for the better. This is for the best. And what we believe is creating a future in which the younger generations do not feel the burden, okay, we do not have, because this is a mistake which the older generations did, and we simply do not want to replicate it. We think for a better future, not only for us, but as a society as a whole, as a country as a whole, as a civilization as a whole. We know when to say right, we know when to say wrong, and it may seem more vocal. We are vocal because that is what technology has enabled us for. And we will be vocal for our own rights, for our own, ambitions. No one can suppress us. No one. And no one should. And if they do, they are just being petty humans at the end of the day. So, I hope my message is conveyed to the audience which I'm targeting. And even if you're from the age of 18 to 24, 25, 30, please hit that like button, share this video if you related to it, if you understood what I'm trying to convey here, because at the end of the day it's your life, you. And I'm not speaking only for Gen Z but any individual. Your life should be dictated by your own terms, not somebody else's. And if they're trying to do something, then speak up. Being rebellious is not a bad character. Asking questions is not a bad character. We are humans. Okay? And that's what Gen Z believes in.